Hello everyone, welcome to the Social Club. Again, we're in the summer, we're doing some specials, talking about transfers. Sam Peoples is here, United People's TV, the people's person, no less.
Right, Paul.
Hi. So I thought I'd break it out of your normal daily routine to talk about transfers for a change.
Yeah, I haven't been talking about transfers for a while actually, so it's nice to do something different.
I think it's fair to say this is what summers are effectively.
Well, you're just as bad as us. There's so many players that you get linked with. Obviously, the Van Dijk thing really didn't help you. But no. United have signed one player so far, and there'll be plenty more to come. But the window's not even officially opened yet. So.
Yeah. How's the fumometer going with United fans over the how quickly signings are coming in?
Well, we signed Lindelof quite quickly. We were supposed to sign him in January, but then it ended up going quite quickly. And now,
so is that quickly or slowly?
I don't know. It's quick in the summer, but technically it took 6 months to get there. But then Nemanja Matic has sort of exploded everything right now. There's a big argument going around United fans because it looks like we're going to sign Matic from Chelsea for maybe 40 million.
Wow.
And then they're going to sign Timo Bakayoko from Monaco for a cheaper price. So the player they're selling, the replacement's actually cheaper. Not really sure how they're managing to do that. But United definitely need a defensive midfielder. It's just that fans sort of had their hopes and dreams set out for Fabinho. Well,
let's talk a little bit about then. I mean, first and foremost, what do you think is Man United's likely budget for this summer?
Probably 150 to 200 mil, but we got 40 million for Memphis and Schneiderlin. So that's one player already covered.
Yeah.
And I think if we're going to get Rooney's wages off the bill. That's going to pay for two established players. Zlatan's wages are off the bill.
Yeah.
That's another two covered. So United are going to be spending a lot, but there's been some getting Rooney off the bill, getting Ibra off the bill, and selling those two players is at least covered 2, maybe 3 signings.
Yeah, amazing. How many players would you think is a realistic amount to come in through the door this summer?
I think realistically 4, ideally 5.
Are these absolute nailed on first team quality players, you think, or is this an exercise in squad depth?
Well, we definitely need squad depth. We're back in the Champions League next year, and we struggled with the Europa League, which I actually think is harder to maintain because of how many games. The level of football you're playing is obviously better in the Champions League, but the sheer amount of games.
Well, you get through the group stage and you go, oh wow, the round of 32?
Yeah, there's an extra round in there.
Round of 32, yeah.
And obviously the Thursday, Sunday doesn't help either. But United managed to just about navigate that last year, and our squad's not good enough at the moment to compete in the Champions League. So we obviously need a new centre-back. We brought one in. We need a new central midfielder. We need a new striker and maybe a winger. And then if you look in an ideal signing, someone like Fabinho from Monaco can operate at fullback, but actually is a defensive midfielder as well. That's a sort of signing that can play in multiple positions and do it well. And United need strength in depth as well as quality. Well,
let's talk a little bit about some of those players that you've been linked with. Obviously, first and foremost, Lindelof, happy to get that over the line?
Yeah, he's a young centre-back, and I'll be honest, I don't know much about him before we've signed him, but I didn't know much about Eric Bailly either.
And he was class last season.
So clearly Mourinho scouts, they know, and Mourinho typically, you look at the defenders that he's signed, he normally signs good defenders. Yeah. He doesn't really make many mistakes as centre-back. So hopefully the same thing will go for Lindelof, known as Iceman, because he's cool and composed.
Because he was in Top Gun, he looks like Val Kilmer. Is that what he?
Well, maybe if you look at him with the squinty eyes, but no, you're really struggling there. But Eric Bailly's a bit of a hothead. Yeah. And we need someone who's a little bit more relaxed. So that sounds like a good partner for him.
It seems strange from the outside looking in, though. I mean, ultimately, a window ends up being judged by a full window when you get to the end of it. When you're very much in it, it's easy to jump to conclusions. But defence wasn't Man United's issue last season. No. Scoring goals and turning draws into wins very much was the big issue. So what has the reaction been to getting a defender boxed off first? Everybody
knew that our defence still needed to be improved. I mean, our starting centre-backs last year ended up being Rojo and Bailly. Last summer, Rojo was the first player I wanted to be sold. Yeah. And Mourinho completely turned him around. But Chris Smalling, it's not good enough to play for Man United. He's 20, you talk about potential, he's like 28 now, 27, 28. Phil Jones, he might get another chance, but those two were supposed to be the players that replaced Vidic and Ferdinand. We got rid of Johnny Evans to give Chris Smalling that shot.
And he's had like a fine wine-esque season in playing for
I think Johnny Evans is probably better than Chris Smalling, and I think he probably was when we sold him too. But to bring a new centre-back in, we definitely needed it. It's not the main priority. Yeah. but it was definitely one. We needed a new spine, and that's one box ticked. But striker, our conversion rate was like 12% in the Premier League last year.
Well, I guess the Morata links are the most solid, and I guess when you look at a team that is obviously going to be without Ibrahimovic next season, it makes sense that you go and get someone who's top quality, and I don't think there's any doubt that Alvaro Morata is
he really is.
Class.
I mean, we're talking about how many players we've been linked with, but it's in the striker where we've been linked with every player under the sun, from Aubameyang to Sanchez to even Aguero, Kane, Belotti. It is exhausting, but it really looks like Morata's going to be the one. It's just that United and Real Madrid have had a bit of a complicated relationship in the past few years.
Fax machines and what have you.
That's never helped, and they obviously wanted De Gea again this summer, but looks like we're holding on to him, which is an amazing bit of news.
Yeah.
And James Rodriguez, we've been linked with him too. But Morata, it's more the price than anything. They're just holding out. He's now his third choice. Is Ronaldo a striker now at Real Madrid? Probably is. Benzema is also second choice. So you've got Morata, who's third choice. But the kid's, he's started 2 Champions League finals. He's only won one of them, obviously. But he had a goal every 90 minutes in La Liga last year. And clearly he's top drawer. And he's only 24. And if Mourinho wants to bring him in, I trust Mourinho. He's made 4 signings so far, and all 4 of them have been good.
What sort of fee are you looking at then for Morata?
It's just going to be I don't understand the almost fake outrage from fans at transfer fees anymore, because as long as the season ticket price doesn't go up, we don't get affected. It's bollocks how much players are being. Virgil van Dijk is not worth 70 million.
No, of course not.
Morata is not worth 80 million euros, but that's probably what we're going to have to pay for him. I don't really care how much he is, as long as we get the player at the end of it. Yeah,
well, this is the world we live in, isn't it? And I guess it's you start breaking world transfer records for players, then inevitably the cost of everything goes up as a result. But I think we're seeing that across the board, aren't we? This summer, that clubs are just throwing £20 million onto asking prices, because particularly when it comes to Premier League clubs, there's like a joke in Germany, isn't it, that when an English club comes knocking for one of the players, they just throw 20% on the transfer fee
because they will get it. Yeah. And when you see clubs like Everton that are spending 30 million on Pickford and best part of 30 million on Klaassen, the money's now transcending down the league. It's not just those 3 or 4 clubs at the top that can afford it. Yeah. Everybody's got money.
So would you be, Morata comes in, takes over centre-forward for United, I
think that's cool. I mean, Rashford himself, he did very well last year. He operated out on the left a lot to accommodate for Ibrahimovic, but once Ibrahimovic was out, Rashford's, scored against Anderlecht to put us through to the semi, scored the free kick in the semi. He came up with important goals and big performances, and the kid is the future of United up front. But to combine him with Morata, because we are going to be playing. Last year we didn't compete for the Premier League. Yeah. We started off okay, but come October time, we basically were already not competing, and it only just went worse from that point on. And that was only just because we didn't finish the chances. We've made more chances than Chelsea, we made more chances than Arsenal, and they both finished above us. Yeah. But
amongst others.
Amongst others. But if you're looking at the simplest solution to Man United's problems, it's find someone who's going to score 20 goals from the chances you made last year, and you will be competing. So Morata, hopefully on paper, just does that straight away. Yeah,
absolutely. And I guess as well, Mourinho, he doesn't like lightweight centre forwards, and I think I do feel a bit like he had no choice but to put Rashford in there by the end of the season, but he will always prefer someone who can do a bit more of the physical side of things. I'm not saying Morata is your archetypal target man, but he's a big lad. Yeah, he can hold the ball
and
up as well.
And he's got more to his all-round game. So I haven't watched quite a bit of him recently. He's not just, so he's about 6'2", but he's really good with dribbling. He can move with the ball at his feet. He's got an all-round type striker rather than just, but he can play with his back to goal if necessary. And Ibrahimovic did that. Was one of his best assets last season, was doing that.
Yeah. So do you think in terms of the midfield then it's a Matic or Fabinho style situation?
I don't think so at all. And this is the reason I'm getting a bit confused with everyone throwing the toys out of pram with the concept of Matic coming in, because, let's be honest, 40 million for Matic, he's 28. He was probably better in his first year back at Chelsea than he has been in the 2 following. And he's just gone down. He's gone downhill a little bit, but he's still a massive upgrade in our midfield, so he would definitely improve it. It's just that Fabinho had the bollocks of a season at Monaco as a defensive midfielder, can score penalties as well, and he's a pure defensive midfielder, whereas someone like Matic, a bit more all-round. So I'm looking at that and saying, why can't we get both? Because if Pogba or Herrera get injured for United next season, we don't really have cover in those spots. Yeah. And Antonio Valencia, he started to get injured towards the end of last season because he'd been running so much. Yeah. and Fabinho can play right back as well. So in an ideal world, that's why I said 4, maybe 5 signings. Maybe we can get Matic and Fabinho. But if it's one or the other, ideally you want Fabinho, and I think that's where the frustrations are coming from, United fans.
The only other one that seems to be quite heavily linked, and you just don't know how to take it. We were talking about it before filming. I looked into the Perisic Man United thing, and it's just it's funny because I get the exact same things as Liverpool. I can see why fan bases just lurch from one way to the other of like despair to utter elation, because very, very solid links one day to, oh, it's all coming down, Juve are hijacking, blah, blah, blah. Look, 28 years old, I think absolutely, he's not getting any better, but he's right there. Played the 90% of his games last season from the left wing. Is that, you know, again, you mentioned needing a winger. Does he fit the bill?
I think with Perisic, it's a classic Mourinho signing, someone who's experienced, somebody who he can trust to put in and do a job. He probably won't ever do a 9 out of 10 performance, but he'll never do less than 7. He strikes me as that sort of workhorse player. But United definitely need a winger of that ilk, because we became really predictable going forward last year, because Mata, Mkhitaryan, all of our wingers cut in. They naturally cut in, whereas someone like Perisic goes on the outside and he puts a cross in. United have always had width. That's always been our style of play. And with Luke Shaw being out injured last season, we never really had a left back. So it was just Martial, who always got doubled up, and then nobody overlapped him. So then we always had to pass it back round to the right. Whereas having someone like Perisic in, we can change the style of play. Which wouldn't be a bad thing at all, but Inter Milan are digging their heels in.
Well, yeah, big time. I mean, 11 goals and 12 assists in all competitions last season is a pretty decent return for the guy from the wing. It's not Salah-like returns, but it's good. But no, it looks like I look at the positions of everyone to be linked with, and again, you go Fabinho DM, and as you say, can play wide, Perisic left wing, Lindelof centre half, Morata centre forward, and Matic in the DM. You're buying effectively almost buying a spine.
If you're looking at United in recent years, I'll be the first to admit that we've had some shock horror signings. I mean, so many of the players that Van Gaal brought in have already gone. United have been very poor in terms of a plan in the window. But Mourinho last year, he wanted 4 players and he got all 4 players. He's going into this window knowing he needs a striker, a central midfielder and a centre-back. We're being a hell of a lot more systematic. You might not agree with the players that he's choosing, but he's choosing players in the positions that we need to strengthen, which is at least one thing. But you can't always be happy as a football fan.
No, or often not at all. So just quickly on the outs, I guess we've got a question actually coming from Eamon Shin Axion on Twitter. Do you think Martial will leave?
No, I think Martial's going to. Oh, I hope he's going to be here for a long time. He had a great first year and second season syndrome, whatever you want to call it. He had a pretty messy breakup with his wife, and that's still ongoing. And that's really. Because he seemed settled when he came as a 19-year-old kid. He was already married. He already had a baby. He was just ready for it. He seemed years ahead of himself. But immature might not be the right word, but when struggles happened last year under Mourinho, he started asking more of him. He couldn't do it. And that sort of happened at Euros with Deschamps. Didn't play him really at all at the Euro 2016. The kid's got incredible talent. And I think Mourinho, when Mourinho pushes players, it's not because he wants to break them. He wants to make them. It's just that sometimes they do get broken. And it doesn't work with every player. And maybe someone so young as that, maybe he could have had a softer touch. Same with Luke Shaw. But I hope he doesn't go. And he's definitely not going to Arsenal. And that's the rumours.
I think Martial's tremendous. We did a transfer committee show last summer for Liverpool, and he was like, my outside shot was like, he's not going to fit in under Mourinho. If he's a centre forward, Mourinho won't look to play him centre forward. He'll end up stuck on the wing. If he goes, I think that's a big missed opportunity. But it'd be interesting to see if he's happy for another season playing. It depends as a utility forward.
Because as I said, like Ibrahimovic is obviously gone. He may come back in a short-term deal towards us the next year. Rooney's going to be gone. So that leaves us with Rashford, our only striker. Bring in Morata, that's 2 strikers. That's still not enough. Martial showed it against Burnley last year and in his first season. He's a cracking centre forward. So having those 3 as our options up front, happy days. I'd be delighted with that. Because typically United have 4, but that's when we play 2 up front. We only play 1 up front now, so having 3 options is good enough for me. Yeah.
You mentioned Rooney a few times there. I mean, without a shadow of a doubt on his way this summer.
I will be so surprised if Rooney's going to be there next year. It doesn't make sense anymore. And I think The only reason it's going to be delayed is because of his contract getting paid off, what money's going to happen, will Everton be able to afford his wages, and what that structure will be. I'll be dead surprised if he didn't go to Everton.
Yeah.
I can't see him really taking his family abroad. He still lives in Liverpool, has the whole time, so why would he then decide to ship off to MLS or China?
Imagine Wayne Rooney having to learn another language. Imagine.
Struggles enough with English as it is. But no, Rooney, it's the right time for him. He's our his record goal scorer. That's the accolade he wanted. And Mourinho benched him last year. He's the first manager to really push Rooney to the side when he's not been injured.
Yeah.
And I don't think Rooney wants to be there anymore unless he's playing regular first-team football. It's not going to happen.
That makes sense. What do you think is likely to be the biggest saga that's going to rumble on all summer for United?
There's always more than one. I think this Morata deal is going to really drag, because of what happened with David De Gea, because Zidane doesn't want to sell him, because United aren't giving them the money they want. There's a few variables that are just means it's going to drip and drab. And obviously, Real Madrid, it looks like they want to try and sign Mbappe. So
yes.
that's something that may speed it up, because they need the money up front to fund that ridiculous 120, 30, whatever he's going to go for.
Yeah.
But probably Morata out of any of them. But Perisic is one that has dragged. It's because Inter Milan are holding out for more money. But I think that's going to be resolved by the end of June, because they owe money to FFP. Blah blah blah. Yeah,
we've heard a lot of that already. Yeah, I think Roma are in a very similar situation as well. Okay, interesting. So let's get a few more of your questions before we wrap up. Then, Jay Giblin, why do United fans think Pogba is so good? Granted, he has ability, but his work rate and performances don't justify the talk. Do you agree with that?
I couldn't disagree anymore. I think Pogba's clearly going to be another Michael Carrick type player, in that you don't really fully appreciate him unless you watch 90 minutes every single week. Yeah. I think you saw in that, was it France-England the other week, when Pogba was just tearing it up. His performance was...
England.
Yeah, I know it's England, I know it's a friendly, but we've seen from fans who have watched him, he hasn't hit the headlines, but I think he matched his best ever goal scoring tally in a single season last year. He hit the bar like 8 times, ridiculously unlucky to not have more goals, but Pogba offered so much more than that. And next year, when we actually have a proper defensive midfielder who does his job as a defensive midfielder, Pogba's freed up. You're going to see him on the edge of the box a hell of a lot more, and he will get more goals and assists, and everyone's going to be like, 85, 90 million? Bargain.
Cool. J_Owler, would you be happy if Man United paid 60 million for Morata?
There's no way we're going to get him for 60 million.
You think it'd be more?
Yeah, it'll definitely be more. It'll probably be more towards 70 million. But as I said, I'm never going to get hung up on a transfer fee anymore. I think it's not worth my brain power. Because it's pointless. It is impossible to accurately put a price on a player now, because it's just down to what a club is willing to pay for him. None of them make sense anymore. You know, back when Rio was 30 million, that was a huge deal for that reason. It was the most expensive British player ever. Yeah. Doesn't matter anymore. It's going to get broken every single year now. It used to be once in a while. Now it's probably going to be every season. Yeah, no, absolutely. Brilliant. Well, Sam, thanks very much. That's all right. Cheers,
absolute pleasure. Of course, you can check out more of Sam on United People's TV. Click the emblem on the screen right now to subscribe. And if you want more from Bullshit, you can do. We're going to be discussing the top seven to keep Ped and Barry happy. So yeah, click that video, watch it, subscribe to Ball Street and to United People's TV, and we'll see you back here soon.